is the blueprint to becoming a millionaire, and I'm gonna walk you through the levels to becoming one. Level 1 is the fundamentals of wealth creation, and we're gonna start with, what even is a millionaire? It's someone whose net worth, excluding their primary residence, is in excess of $1 million. Assets minus liabilities. For example, let's say you own a $1 million house and you owe $500,000 on it. If you had nothing else saved up in your bank account, which I would hope that you did, but let's just say you had nothing else saved up in your bank account, then your net worth would be $500K. In this instance, you would not be a millionaire, right? Now let's call this a $1 million house and you owed nothing on it, your net worth would be $1 million. Now, there's a difference between having a liquid net worth versus a net worth. A liquid net worth is assets that you can trade in and out of. So if I had $1 million in cash in my bank account versus owning assets that were worth $1 million, those are different things. And you might be wondering, how does Alex have any authority to speak on the subject? I'll tell you why. I became a millionaire in my early 20s. I had my first cash million in my bank account when I was 27, and I crossed $100 million in net worth by age 31. So I became a millionaire 100 times in a row. So I can tell you how to do it at least once. And I've helped over 100 other people create $1 million plus net worths over my career. And those are just the ones that I know about, let alone all the people in our community have done a lot better than that. And so we go to step 2 in this little journey of ours, which is equity. Because there's 2 ways that you can become a millionaire. You can earn your way there, or you can own your way there. And the faster way is to own your way there. And that's what I'm gonna walk you through. So I'm gonna walk you through both examples of earning your way there, which is how I first thought it was, versus owning. So if I wanna earn my way to $1 million, then I'm going to need to make $2 million over X period of time, and then divide that by 2 because of taxes to get to my $1 million. Let's say I'm making $200,000 a year, and I made $200,000 a year for a decade. That's assuming that you saved 100% of your income. You'd be able to earn your way to $1 million in liquid net worth. On the other hand, you can own your way, meaning that you own assets, either, which could be businesses or real estate, which are probably the 2 most common assets that people own that are trying to invest. When I say invest, when you are an entrepreneur, you are investing, you're just heavily indexed on one stock, which is your own. Let's say that I create a business that gets to $250,000 per year. In some instances, I might be able to sell this company if it was truly automated and had a team of people that worked without me needing it. I could sell this at probably a 4 times multiple. And this is, again, that would be a very good multiple for a business that is doing that kind of profit, because this is actually a small amount of profit for when we're talking business sales. But that would get us to a $1 million net worth. All right, because we own 100% of this business that makes $250,000 a year in profit without us working at all, and we could sell that for $1 million. And so you can see the difference here. It's like, okay, well, one of these takes 10 years. This one is just how long does it take me to automate the creation of $250,000 a year? And so what's interesting here is that almost the actual income between the two is almost identical. But as soon as you achieve it, you almost already have the net worth, because here, time is working against you because you have taxes and you have your living expenses that are cutting out of this every single year. Whereas here, you get the multiplier without your living expenses, with time being an ally for you, which takes us to the next step on our journey. Don't diversify. Diversification is for weenies. Diversification, to quote Uncle Warren, is a hedge against ignorance. You only diversify if you don't know what you're doing. The more you know, the less risky it is. I actually am approaching diversification from a focus perspective, which is, what's the one thing that you're gonna invest your most valuable resource? Because when you're early on, you don't have that much money. So your most valuable resource isn't your money, it's your time and your attention. There's 2 ways we can allocate it. V1, we do little allocations like this. I'm gonna look at crypto, I'm gonna look at day trading, I'm gonna look at Forex, I'm gonna look at flipping houses, I'm gonna look at long-term investing in real estate, I'm gonna look into Airbnb, I'm gonna look into starting an ATM business, I'm gonna look at, you get the idea, right? So let's say this is you, and this is your time and attention that you have to pursue any new opportunity. So you say, I need 7 income streams, because the average millionaire has 7 income streams. So I'm gonna spread myself thin between 7 different opportunities. And while I do that, I'm gonna be multitasking, trying to fill different cups at the same time with different colors. And I'm somehow gonna wait until one of these things takes off, right? I have to see which ones of these will work. But the reality is, it's not which of these ones will work. Any of them could work if you put the work in, but you have to reach a threshold. Once you get to the top, the extra cash starts spilling over and you actually have a profitable opportunity. Which one of these cups is closer to spilling over? You going in on one thing or you spreading yourself between 7? And the reason that this myth continues to proliferate is because it's absolutely true that people who are the wealthiest have multiple income streams. But what's not true is about how they got there. The wealthiest people in the world go all in on one income stream and they keep adding it up over and over and over again until it overflows. And then once it overflows, because they're making so much money from their one opportunity, they then start diversifying back between the other different ways. But they made their wealth focusing on one thing, and then they maintain their wealth by distributing it. You don't make money by splitting your attention up, you make it by focusing on the one thing that matters most. V2, you say, what do I really like? Well, I do have experience doing this one thing, and so I'm gonna ignore all of these other opportunities and just go all in on one thing. The reason I'm such a big advocate of focusing your attention on one thing is that this is where you get disproportionate returns. Because I think it's very arrogant to think that your 10% of your attention, where you're not even that good at business to begin with, spread between 10 things, is somehow going to compete against somebody who's putting all of their effort on one thing. But here's the fallacy that most people who are starting out don't get. They think, I'm going to try all of them and see which one works out. Or rather, I'm going to try and start multiple things and see which one takes off. But the reality is that all of them could take off, or none of them could take off, but it's solely based on which one you work on. So it's not which one will work, it's which one will you work on. You want to go as fast as possible through the I have no idea what I'm doing phase so that you can get to the I do know what I'm doing phase, and I understand the risks that are associated with this, and that's why I don't want to diversify, because I actually get outsized returns here. There's 5 stages that you go through as an entrepreneur when you're considering a new opportunity. Phase 1 is called uninformed optimism. This is where you are uninformed, but you're like, man, this opportunity sounds so great. Look at all these people making all this money. And so then you dive in. And then you get to something called informed pessimism. You're like, oh wow, this isn't as easy as I thought. There's all these other things that they didn't talk about in this ad or in this highlight reel that they show me on this YouTube short about this person that made $1,000 a day going from nothing from her home, right? So then what happens next is you keep working on it, and then you get into the valley of despair. Sad face, sad face. This is where most people quit. And this is what most people do now. ... They find another one of these things to get into, and they go all the way over back here because they think, oh no, this one has doo-doo on this side of the fence. So I'm gonna go to the other side of the fence where the grass is green. But what they don't realize is that when they get into that side, it's completely made of manure. And that's why the grass is so green, right? There's poo on both sides. You just didn't know about it until you got there, all right? And so what happens is people keep repeating the cycle over and over and over again, and they never make progress. And so here's the thing, is that when you do find something that you're like, you know what, I kind of like this. Okay, this is harder than I originally thought. I need to keep learning. Wow, this is actually really hard. There's a lot more pieces to this than I understood at the beginning. I guess this is why everyone isn't rich. And then something magic happens. You then start to have informed optimism. You now start to realize you've wrapped your arms around whatever the opportunity is or whatever thing you're pursuing. And you're like, okay, I haven't gotten there yet, but I understand the math. I understand the process of getting where I am to where I'm trying to go. And ultimately, this is what I'm trying to do with this blueprint for you, is that if I can help you tackle as much of this, or at least compress the time that it takes you to get here, that's a big victory for me. And then you finally get to the final phase, which is achievement, which is you actually accomplish externally what you set out to. And most newbies fall out between here and here and then start this process over again. So most people only relive this over and over and over again without ever making it to here, which then naturally leads you to here, because then you have no desire to diversify because you now get it. And what do you do when you're here? You reset the target. And you say, this is where I want to go next. And because you've been through this process once, you understand that, you know what? Me going after this 10 times bigger goal sounds amazing. I'm gonna find out there's some stuff that sucks. There's gonna be a period where it's gonna really suck and it's gonna feel hopeless because I don't see how to get through it. I'm gonna keep chugging and then understand how to get there. And then I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna repeat the process. So now we go to the last part of level 1 of becoming a millionaire. The long game. If I told